Welcome back, one and all, for Common Sense. My name is Jason Davis, coming to you from the Iron Bunker, hidden in the highlands of West Volusia County, guarded by 2 rabid Pomeranians and 1 crazy cat. That's right. Hey, I had an email sent to me a couple of days ago. Actually, it's about Orange City. And Orange City, there's a borrow pit, and this is in the News Journal. And I like to give everybody credit where credit is due. They did print this article, and they also, but I don't have the author of it. So I can't get on the News Journal because I'm restricted from reading that news because I refuse to pay internet ransom to get news. So there we go. That's why I don't subscribe to the News Journal. And plus, being Jason Davis and from the Volusia County Council for 4 years as the chair, they don't like me. So, oh well, it is what it is. Anyways, it's talking about wetlands recharge project with half a mile east of Blue Springs. That's right, it's half a mile east of Blue Springs. There's a 60 acres from B&H Excavation. It's a site off French Avenue. And the St. John's Water Management District is looking at buying this. This is on, this is all the news. So I'm looking at this article that was sent to me. It was just the wording of it. And it says, here's the funny part. It's ecologically, environmentally, and technical feasible to recharge between 2 to 5 million gallons of water a day without adversely impacting Blue Springs water quality. Now, did you get all that? Here we are, people. We are humans. And as humans and people, we have destroyed our ecology, I'm sorry. And, we destroy our economy all the time. But the ecology, we've destroyed the woodlands and the wetlands and everything like this, but we're going to fix it. That's right, we're going to fix it. We ain't fixed nothing yet. Nothing's been fixed. They're just talking about it right now, and I encourage anybody that wants to get involved in this, you need to really get involved. Need to do a little research, though. That's right. So here's the gist of the whole thing. What they're going to do is they're going to spend $600,000 at this time to purchase this 15-acre wetland and all the other acreage there, apparently 60 acres. And they're going to have a 3.2-acre biofiltration system, and it could be built in part of the pit. This is a big hole in the ground. The hole in the ground is anywhere from 40, 50 feet deep. This is from a borrow pit. And a borrow pit, let me tell you what a borrow pit is. A borrow pit is a piece of land that somebody dug a hole in, and they sold the dirt. They do. And they sold the dirt, and that dirt went over to build I-4. It's gone to build 415. It's gone everywhere to build. As a matter of fact, some of the dirt out of Walt Disney World under Cinderella's castle came from Volusia County over by St. John's. As a matter of fact, it came from a house I used to live in just right over there in DeBerry. That's right. So part of DeBerry is down in Disney, and it's pretty nice. Isn't that great? Well, Katie Tripp, let's see. So let's not go to Katie Tripp here. She's a biologist from Save the Manatee Club, and she's waiting for further research on water quality that would flow from the recharge project. And that's with a good reason. Because if you are smart enough and you do your research and you go to the United States Geological Services.gov. As a matter of fact, type in aquifer, which is AQUIFER. How does it work? And it gives a very good diagram on how it works. So let me tell you the errors of their ways. Whoever came up with this idea, and let me see if I can find Robert Knight. He is the executive director. The project has potential to further pollute. Oh, no, he's with us. He's with me on this one. This is a disaster that is looking for a place to happen. Yes, here we go. Lou Donagelo, Donagelo, the Water Management District's Regional Water Supply Coordinator. Big, long title. This'll work. This is what they're trying to tell us. Well, let me just point out the errors of the ways. St. John's Water Management likes to talk about water projects. That's all they do. They'd like to talk and talk and talk and talk. But let me tell you what, apparently nobody knows the basics of aquifer and water flow. Nobody there's a hydrologist, apparently. I'm an amateur hydrologist because water is important. Remember in one of my other podcasts, I talked about how to fix the intercoastal waterway, and our county government said, no. That's what they said. Well, that's okay. Because here's how it works. Have you ever been to the beach? Anybody that's ever been to the beach? And if you haven't, go to our beaches, enjoy, have a nice time, buy some sodas, ice cream, but don't destroy our beaches. Don't leave your trash. Take your trash away. But if you've ever dug a hole in the sand on the beach, this is what happens. After you get a few inches into, depending on how close you are to the water, what happens is it fills with water. Doesn't matter where on the beach you dig. You keep digging, dig. You will hit water. Why do you hit water? Because this is called groundwater. There's an unsaturated zone, and this is directly from the United States. The United States Geological Survey. This is the water people. And they write about groundwater and aquifers. And here's how you visualize groundwater. Go to the beach, dig a hole. You can go to a lake. On the beach there's a lake. Go about 5 feet up from the water. Dig a hole in the ground. You'll get about a foot in the ground, and it'll fill with water. That's groundwater. Think that through for a minute. Where's that groundwater coming from? It's coming from the lake. That's right, because groundwater, our lakes are holes in the ground, and water filters through the sand and the dirt, and it goes into the lakes. It's basically, if you look at the level of the lake, any nearby lake, and you go somewhere away from it, and you dig down to that level of that lake, just to 3 inches lower than the level of the lake in respect to where you're at, you will hit water. Wow. Now this water is free flowing. I mean, it's not like a river, but the water is there. Do you know what happens if you pour, nitrogen concentrates into the water in that hole? It will filter down to the lake. Not a problem. Why will it filter down to the lake? Because there are other forces at work. The sunlight heats the water evaporates. It creates beautiful clouds in the sky, but that water has to come in from somewhere, and it comes from the hole you dug. That's right. That water flows ever so slowly to the lake, at the level of the lake. Now, if you want to go to an aquifer, and they talk about aquifer replenishment, this takes years, literally years, for the water to filter through the hard, porous rock known as limestone. And it filters through that rock, and it keeps large sediments out. It's also in the dark, so that helps to kill any kind of algae that need light, so that kills that. And then it filters down through into the aquifer. And I saw a documentary on PBS a couple of years back, talked about how they found a cave that goes into the aquifer, which comes from the ocean, actually. Yes, there's a connection over there down by St. Pete. And they swam in through this, they scuba dived into this aquifer. They were able to get into the aquifer from that point. And they found a saltwater level, and then a level of gray, and then crystal clear, pure water. The level of gray is a bacteria that eats salt. It's a salt, I guess it uses a salt to create its own life. And it eats this salt and takes the salt out of the water. And salt water is a little bit heavier than fresh water, so the fresh water rises to the top. That's how our aquifer is, keep the salt out of it. That's a good way. But anyways, if you're coming down through the aquifer cap, it takes many years for that water that hit the ground today out in a rainstorm through the lake to filter down through into the aquifer, and it's self-purifying. It purifies that water for us. Now, you may get water that has, tastes a little sulfury or something. Well, that's other chemicals that are in there, but that's not something to be worried about because the parts are so small and so far out, 1 part per 20 trillion or something like that. You can drink that water. That's, as a matter of fact, is where every drop of water that comes into your house comes out of a Florida aquifer. If you live in Florida, of course. So, anyways. So what we're going to do here by proposal of the St. John's Water Management is they have this 50-foot hole in the ground. It's 50 foot deep. And what they're going to do is they're going to pour, that's right, pour, this tainted, over-nitrogenated, chemically semi-treated water into this hole in the ground. It's supposed to filter down through into the aquifer and come out of Blue Springs. Good luck with that, because it takes about 10 to 15 years for that to happen. So basically what you're doing with this water is you're pouring it into the ground, and all this high nitrogen water and chemicals and everything, and storm water with fuel and oil and all the nasty stuff that's on our roads goes into this hole. And then this hole will percolate into the groundwater. And of course, water has this nasty habit of flowing downhill. And you're building this hole in the ground and this quote-unquote biological filtration system. You're building it uphill from Blue Springs. But luckily for us, Blue Springs is a rock outcropping. It's all got limestone, and I'm a scuba diver, and I have dove into the spring and down to the bottom in the boil, what we call the boil. There's where the water comes out. It's pretty good force coming out of there. If you can really get down there, you're pretty strong. And that's where the manatees like to lay. And this is way back when, before we had all these crazy rules to no swimming with manatees. But anyway, it won't go into Blue Springs, because Blue Springs is a rock outcropping. It's going to go downhill to the easiest. It's water. It will flow in the easiest course possible, and it will end up in the St. John's River. Yep, that's where it's going to go. And yes, these, as I've said, pretty ambitious people here. I'm looking back through this little article real quick, because there was a number, there it is, between 2 to 5 million gallons of water a day. And yes, they are right. It will not adversely impact the spring's water quality, because it can't percolate through limestone that quickly. So this water is going to become part of, and this is according to the United States Geological Society, it's going to be called unconfined water, or groundwater. It is not drinkable, not even close, but it will flow downhill into our rivers, into our lakes, and into our streams, and pollute them. That's right. They're going to taint the water tables. So, there you go. And that is directly from, as I said, The Science of a Changing World, the United States Geological Society, and you can go to www.usgs.gov, special topic, and then it's just type in aquifers and how they work. They need to do their research before they make these stands. 6 years ago, we tried to get them to help us to fix up the Intercoastal Waterway. Thank goodness, by the way, just recently, the governor signed $250,000 over to, giving it to the city of Oak Hill and Mosquito Lagoon to try to help fix that problem. And that's a great idea. And thank you, Mr. Governor. I don't know if it's because I wrote you a letter about it and explained it to you, or if maybe you heard it on this podcast of water. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But thank you. That's a start. Just a start. We need to take the problem at the source. And it's not getting rid of every septic tank. That's not the source. The source of the runoff in the St. John's is the fact, in the Mosquito Lagoon is the fact that there is no flow. We need to fix the flow and get the oxygen in that water before you can fix the problem. So with that, I think we will end this podcast here. It was just something that came up today, and I wanted to address that issue and get it out there. So, thanks for listening to Common Sense, and maybe, who knows, if you're listening to this, you can go over to the next St. John's Water Management, because they're going to have plenty of workshops on this issue. Let's see, they're going to have, I'm sure, plenty of workshops. I'm trying to find it. Yep. They're going to have workshops, they say, and we're going to see what happens. But get in there and explain to them what you're thinking is wrong. You got to come up with a better idea. So with that, maybe common sense one day, maybe that will just prevail.